everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany, here with my co-host Harris Faulkner. Also joining us, Fox News contributor Lisa Boothe, Hudson Institute Senior Fellow Rebecca Heinrichs, and 32nd Undersecretary of the Army and former Democratic Congressman, there he is, from Pennsylvania, Patrick Murphy. We begin with this. An overwhelming number of Americans have serious concerns over President Biden's age. Democrats and Biden are desperately trying to turn the page after a bombshell special counsel report that described Biden as, quote, an elderly man with a bad memory. But a staggering new poll found, get this, 86%, that is a huge number of Americans think President Biden is too old for another term. That is the highest number in any poll about the president's age. And 73% of self-described Democrats agree with the assessment. Even the left-leaning New York Times is pointing out the red flags, writing, quote, Mr. Biden's performance at his news conference raised more questions about his cognitive sharpness and temperament. His assurances, in other words, didn't work. He must do better. The stakes in this presidential election are too high for Mr. Biden to hope that he can skate through a campaign with the help of teleprompters and aides and somehow defeat as manifestly unfit an opponent as Donald Trump, who has a very real chance of retaking the White House. Ouch. That's the New York Times. Now, pressure is growing for special counsel Robert Hur to release the entire transcript of his interview with President Biden. But the president's personal attorney wouldn't say if he supports such a release.
I'm drawing here on my recollections, but yes, there are transcripts.
Do you favor releasing them?
Well, it's really a decision that has to take place within the government. It's a classified document.
Counsel,
I'm the president's personal counsel.
Right. Would you recommend that these be made public if they indeed back up your personal recollection?
Again, there's a process underway. I'm not a specialist in that process, and so I really have to defer to those who have to work through those issues.
He doesn't want that transcript out. And it doesn't seem like Biden is taking these concerns too seriously. Moments ago, he made this joke about his age.
What I didn't realize, and I've been around, I know I don't look like it, but I've been around a while. I do remember that.
Wow. You know, interesting, Harris, on the back of a poll, 86% of voters say he is too old. And my favorite are just some of the excuses. You know, someone from his campaign telling Politico, we have to remind people that this is a MAGA guy. That's what they said about the prosecutor. I mean, it's like losing the Super Bowl by 30 points and you're blaming the ref.
Well, that can happen.
Fortunately,
it didn't happen last night or the 49ers. I mean, I thought it was a pretty good called game. I'll get back on track here. So, you know what? I did some reading, and I thought this was fascinating. We've known this a long time. Nate Cohn, the New York Times chief political analyst, noted that Times Siena polling last fall had 70% of battleground state voters agreeing with the statement that Mr. Biden is just too old to be an effective president. So my question is for this administration, for this White House, why can't they fix it? Like, what is it about this person that the facts are so stubborn? They don't call them facts. They call them, oh, that poll or oh, that opinion. The problem is they've been around for so long. And we have seen right after the Afghanistan withdrawal, his numbers tank in terms of how he does his job. But this is different. When you dig into this polling, I mean, the reasons that people are looking at age have to do with his frailty, his fragility, his falls, the way he walks, the things about him that make him look like he's gentle. He's fragile. He's in trouble. And look, we're not all doctors, so we don't know. I'm hoping that the people around them, though, would address it faster than nearly a year.
Right. One would think so. One would hope so. I mean, Patrick, I'm coming to you because I'm genuinely interested, as someone who's a Democrat, about strategy here. Because Katie Rogers in the New York Times wrote a piece about how the White House has essentially wrapped President Biden in a presidential cocoon. But yet in Politico, there were some Democrats coming out and saying, you've got to get Biden out there. And to quote it directly, the more Biden engages in unscripted commentary, the less likely people will be to obsess over his slip-ups. So is the answer more or less of the president?
Absolutely more. Because he connects with people one-on-one, because he genuinely cares. But he stumbles. But so does Donald Trump, as we know. We saw last weekend, he attacked Nikki Haley's husband for being deployed. But this is it. He was elected 3 years ago at age 77. And he's going to be the oldest president. And him and Donald Trump went to high school at the same time. I mean, they're both old. Those same polls say both these candidates who are going to be the nominees of both parties are too old to be president.
Okay,
That's
but there's
what
nowhere near 86% questioning President Trump's mental acuity.
Right.
That doesn't exist.
But to the point is, he has to get out there and he has to connect. I'm glad he's there, and he's joking about it. He did a birthday thing, the little video on his birthday a couple months ago saying, it's my 114th birthday. You know, that's okay. Humor is okay, right? I will say, you worked in the White House. You know, that was bad staff work. When he's dealing with the crisis on October 7th, he should sit down with the special counsel, no doubt, but he punted it 2 days later or something like that, right? That was bad staff work. Now, again, I'm not blaming the staff, but
he did.
No, I don't think he did, but I will tell you what.
No, he did. He blamed the staff for everything. Watch the speech.
But the people who are now blaming the special counsel, that they're barking up the wrong tree.
Okay, they're not the same age. His birthday is the same as my father's. My dad is deceased, of course. June 14th, Flag Day. He's 77. Biden is 81.
Yeah, one
right?
graduated
And Biden said he was
going
to run one term.
Yeah, but
what
Patrick, the problem is that if they hide him in the basement, it's because he's too old. If you put him out there, people know he's too old. So I think this is what they call being between a rock and a hard place as well. Also, if he's not too mentally incapacitated to stand trial, then shouldn't he stand trial? Because the special counsel found that he willfully mishandled classified information and classified documents, and he did so since the 1970s, the 1980s, when he was senator, when presumably he would have been lucid. Also during his time as vice president, when you think he would have been lucid. So he mishandled classified documents when he knew what he was doing, so much so that he told his ghostwriter in 2017, yeah, I have classified information, I just don't feel like handing it over, which debunks Democrats' whole point about Trump, that, obstruction of justice. Joe Biden's been doing it since it was 1970.
The excuses, Patrick, they
come
work when this is a one-off, okay? If it's a one-off, he did a bad interview with the special counsel, he forgot things. Okay, yes, it was a day after October 7th. That's for a one-off, but this is repeated. I mean, he said he talked to 2 dead leaders last week.
Yeah, and he misspoke. But I think the point is...
he had a mental acuity lapse.
And that's why I agree with the New York Times, by the way. He has to do better. And I'm not disagreeing that. But I would say, though,
but what if he can't do better?
Lisa, he can do better. I've been in Oval Office with him.
I mean, you know, Democrats are always asking those of us who talk about this topic a lot, well, you're not a doctor. What has a doctor told you? I can tell you what the experts that have sat in your very seat, Doc Siegel being one of them, what are doctors telling you? How, to Lisa's point, how can you fix him? And why hasn't the White House fixed him since this poll of 70% of people in battleground states think he's too old last fall?
And I think that's why you have 8 months that it is going to be a battle between him and Donald Trump, and it's going to go down the wire.
For 3 years, we've watched President Biden get out in front of the cameras after a national security crisis, and he has gaffe after gaffe. So it's not like this is just a one-off, as Kayleigh has said. It has been at times where we really need the president to not only say the right thing and get the leaders of countries correct, but to demonstrate that he's strong, that he has a steady hand at the helm. Do you think our allies are confident that Joe Biden has a steady hand at the helm, or that our adversaries are afraid? I mean, he doesn't. So it's a mental acuity issue, yes. It's a strength issue, yes. It's a stamina issue, yes. On all of those points, over 3 years, he's demonstrated that he's not able to do it.
And I would say that Donald Trump in this election said 9 times that he's going against Barack Obama. Or that
because
he stumbles too.
He's intimating that Barack Obama is behind the decision-making of the Biden White House.
I don't think anybody misunderstands
trying
what
to
she's
say
saying.
Trump is on the same level of mental acuity as Biden. I have an ocean to sell you.
No.
Out west.
Kayleigh, all I'm saying is that when Donald Trump goes off the teleprompter, he does things that are also not all with it. Like this weekend, when he attacked Nikki Haley's husband for where's Nikki Haley's husband? He's deployed with troops.
That has nothing to do with mental acuity.
Can I just add one of the... I think
it's a lack of political judgment.
But Patrick, you're a veteran, so I assume that you have a problem with Joe Biden's willfully mishandling of classified documents for decades. And I think that's a bigger point that keeps getting overshadowed by the fact that we all know Joe Biden's way too old, including 86% of Americans and 73% of Democrats. And I'm sure you believe that behind the scenes as well, I would have to imagine. We all know what's going on here. But I think that issue, the fact that Joe Biden did this for so long, is getting overshadowed. And that is a big point that man should be prosecuted for what he's done.
First of all, I believe in the rule of law. I'm a former federal prosecutor. This is not apples to oranges. This is apples to dump trucks. Because just like Vice President Mike Pence and Joe Biden totally cooperated with the DOJ versus what Donald Trump did. We had to get a subpoena to go into Mar-a-Lago.
1970.
More
I mean, that was
to
a
come
It was just,
on
no,
that.
I know, but it is not even apples to
More
oranges.
to come on that, Patrick. Thanks for playing ball with us.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.